At my own birthday party in front of 60 guests, my mother-in-law stood up and said, "We should all know SARA is no longer part of this family." Everyone went silent, and my husband just SAT there. But she didn't know. I had been recording for 3 months. My name is Sarah. I had been married to Daniel for 6 years. To the outside world, we looked perfect. A beautiful house, 2 kids, a loving husband. But behind closed doors, his mother, Margaret, had been slowly, quietly, trying to destroy my marriage from the very beginning. She never liked me. From the day Daniel introduced us, she made it clear I was not the woman she had chosen for her son. I was too independent, too educated, too unwilling to simply obey. For 6 years, I smiled. I cooked for her, I invited her to every holiday. I bit my tongue when she criticized my parenting, my cooking, my career. But everything changed 3 months before my 35th birthday. I came home early from work one afternoon. Daniel's car was in the driveway, unusual, he was supposed to be in a meeting until 6. I walked in quietly, and I heard voices in the kitchen. Margaret's voice and Daniel's. "She doesn't deserve you," Margaret was saying. "She never did. I've already spoken to Robert, the lawyer. If you file now, you'll keep the house. The kids will stay with us, she'll have nothing." I stood frozen in the hallway. Then Daniel said, and I will never forget these words, "I know, Mom. I'm just waiting for the right time." I didn't cry, I didn't scream. I walked back out the front door, sat in my car, and made a decision. If they wanted a war, I would be ready. That same week, I did 3 things. First, I called my own lawyer. A woman named Diana, who had a reputation for being absolutely ruthless in divorce cases. I told her everything. She told me to start documenting. Second, I opened a private bank account and began quietly moving my personal savings. Nothing illegal, just protection. Third, I bought a small voice recorder. And I started carrying it everywhere. Over the next 3 months, I collected everything. Margaret telling Daniel I was mentally unstable. Margaret suggesting he take the children to her house just in case. Daniel agreeing, on recording, that he wanted the house, the car, and full custody. I had 11 recordings. My lawyer called them the most organized evidence she had ever seen. But I hadn't done anything yet, I was waiting. And then, my birthday arrived. Daniel had offered to throw me a birthday party. 60 guests, family, friends, colleagues, a beautiful venue. I said yes. I smiled, I wore my best dress. What Daniel didn't know was that I had already filed for divorce that morning. The papers were sitting in Diana's office, ready to be served. What Margaret didn't know was that every single person in that room, my parents, my closest friends, my colleagues, already knew the truth. I had spent the previous week making quiet phone calls. The party started beautifully. Music, food, laughter. And then, just as the cake was brought out, Margaret stood up. She tapped her glass. The room went quiet. "I want to say something," she announced, smiling at the crowd. "I think it's time everyone knew the truth about Sarah and about the future of this family." She paused for dramatic effect. "Sarah and Daniel are separating. Sarah will be moving out, and we want you all to know the children will be well taken care of by their real family." Gasps, whispers. People turning to look at me. Margaret looked at me with triumph in her eyes. I put down my fork, I stood up slowly, and I smiled. "Margaret," I said calmly, "thank you for bringing this up. Since we're sharing truths tonight, I have something to share too." I picked up my phone, connected it to the venue's Bluetooth speaker, and I pressed play. Margaret's voice filled the entire room. "If you file now, you'll keep the house. She'll have nothing." Then Daniel's voice. "I know, Mom, I'm just waiting for the right time." The room was completely silent. I let it play for 45 seconds, then I stopped it. "I have 11 more recordings," I said. "My lawyer has all of them. The divorce papers were filed this morning. And according to those papers, I am keeping the house because it was purchased with my inheritance. Daniel is keeping his debt." Margaret's face went white. Daniel's mouth opened. Nothing came out. My father stood up from his chair slowly and began to clap. One person joined him, then another, then the entire room. Margaret grabbed her purse and walked out. Daniel followed her. I sat back down, picked up my fork, and finished my birthday cake. Alone, but for the first time in 6 years, completely free. The divorce was finalized 4 months later. I kept the house. I kept the kids, primary custody, with supervised visitation for Daniel. The recordings were submitted as evidence and changed everything about the settlement. Margaret tried to call me twice. I never picked up. My children are happy. My home is peaceful. And every morning when I wake up, I make my own coffee, sit in my own kitchen, and breathe. Some people ask me later, weren't you scared that night? Wasn't it hard? I always give the same answer. The hardest part wasn't standing up at that party. The hardest part was 6 years of staying silent. I will never do that again.